about the season he had. I think, he really kind of, not that it's really different, I think amongst us in the kind of the catching world, but I think to the casual fan, just kind of seeing a little bit more of the kind of shortstop actions in a sense of what he's doing with his throws and his feet and everything like that. Talk a little bit about him and his development with that. Probably a lot of natural ability, but then how
Oh yeah.
you obviously harness it in.
Yeah, I mean, he threw like that his whole life, you know. I think that's something that he's spoken about in interviews and whatnot when, he didn't have the strongest arm when he was like a teenager and he got to the big diamond, so he relied on his quick release and athletic just to get the ball in the air, and then the arm strength came with it. So when we first drafted him, even before I knew we were kind of kicking the tires on it, possibly could be a pick. You look at the videos, you're like, damn, man, this sophomore year, he was slinging it. Like he was, like you said, shortstop action, athletic, like threw from all different angles. And then you saw his junior year, you're like, man, like what's going on here? Like more climby from the top, like trying to typical, like to the air and throw. Luckily, it was only a shortened season. Obviously, I say that with everything was going on, like tongue in cheek. But
For sure.
when he came, we started talking about it when he came to summer camp, and he was like, he was trying to get more carry on the ball for scouts and whatnot. And he asked me point blank, he's like, "What do you like?" And I was like, "Well, what do you like to do?" And he's like, "Well, I like the way I threw my sophomore year." I was like, "Dude, no doubt, man. Like I'm in on that, man. Like you have the freedom, like your body's in the right spot. Like there's you're not from video wise. Obviously, we did some biomechanical stuff on him when we got him, but like just looking at video, it looks like there's not much like this stress on your arm. Like your body's in the right posture. Like you're using your back hip well. You're using the ground force. Like all these boxes you're checking. I'm like, that's something I want to double down on and harness that. And he's like, yeah, I'm in on it. So ever since that, we just kind of just really just his plyo ball program he's done. I mean, he linked up with Trend Athletics this past off season. I managed in low A. I managed the performance coordinator Tyler Zombro. So we got together and he talked to his crew and they put together a great program for him. So they kind of like prep his body and his movements, before he even threw a ball. And that's something that he's done in his minor leagues. When I challenged him on his pregame throwing, is just throw from different angles, different body positions. Like once you get loose, just and have a feel for it, and obviously have a focal point for your target. Being the chest or being the catch part in his face, and then just throw from different angles and make adjustments from there. And we have certain checkpoints as far as his posture and his back hip and his back foot, as I alluded to earlier. But to kind of see him grow and double down on that, and then get to the big leagues this year and kind of see it on display for everyone was awesome to see, because there was so much work behind the scenes. I like to call it the unseen hours. Alan Stein Jr. Coined that phrase. He's awesome, and I believe in that. Like he put so much work in, and to kind of see where he was at, at when the lights were the brightest was awesome. And and like I keep on saying it, like there's so many people that help him and help me kind of get where he's at, and we leverage a lot of our resources to kind of make sure that he stays on point.
For sure. And I think the arm slot thing is like, it's a big no teach, in terms of like with our younger guys. The lower arm slot creates much better rotation in the upper body. And if you have a higher arm slot, I'm still not going to touch it. We're going to figure it out. But it's just the idea of like, he's such a great example of like, wherever you feel natural being able to do it, like we got to figure that out first before we try to make an adjustment. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the piece that's been great for him, for guys like me, to have examples of being like, somebody who has a lower arm slot and they're, little league coach or high school coach is telling them they got to get their arm up. It's like, no, just get behind the ball. We get behind the ball, we're going to be okay no matter where we are. We'll see the spin. Is there any other tools you use in terms of like him just like seeing the spin of the ball, being that it's from a different angle, we can kind of lose that spin at times?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, what you said is spot on. Like find the back, like but be behind the baseball. I was around Kyle Snyder, the Rays big league pitching coach, for a while, and he tells all his pitchers to find the back of the ball, and it's such a simple, easy cue. But if you just find the back of the ball or stay behind the back of the ball, you're going to be in a good spot when you deliver the baseball at any position. I think you look at shortstops, it's like that's like the holy grail of the baseball positions, and they throw from every angle, you know. So now you're behind the plate, and everything got morphed into getting to the air and being behind. That's it's tough to sell sometimes. But the tools we use, I just love the plyo balls. I love the squishiness, the finger pressure. You can get a focal point with an external cue with either tape or another visual, and then you get the feel of, you can see the ball bounce. We want to make sure it bounces down in the right spot, doesn't get squirrely off the wall. We've messed around with, a clean fuego type ball with, just drawing a stripe on the ball to
Mm.
kind of see the spin axis. And for him, he's starting to, with any player, you want them to feel it, right? You want them to be their own coach and kind of lead them to that area. So he's gotten to a point where he can feel, and when the ball comes off his fingertips, he knows it's in the right spot, and the ball flight of it. Like, he understands where, the ball flight. Sometimes he actually gets like a little upshoot carry, a la Tyler Rogers, with when he throws, and that's usually because he just gets underneath the ball and he's staying behind the ball, but he's just underneath it a little bit. And then I have, me. I'm usually his catch partner when he's getting ready to play, so I see the ball flight as well, and we have that interaction as well. So there's not too many like tools we use. I would say the plyo balls is kind of like our bread and butter.
Yeah, I love the plow balls, and I love the clean fuegos too, because it's the idea of like, I'm not concerned if it's, 12-6. It's just,
Right.
is it tight and it's staying on the axis the entire time?
Hmm.
So like when we're in here and guys are playing, it's like, hey, you might throw it, at this angle, and he might throw it at this angle, and it's all good as long as it's staying on that same axis that they're on.
Yeah, I just
Obviously,
like the not everyone has access to the clean fuego, but like the strike ball, like that's we use that a lot too with our pitches and stuff, and you can get some cool video, because it's a great visual to play back for the guys to kind of see the line on it, and it's also the same feel of, it's a baseball, so you're not worried about like the different like hockey puck feel
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah,
the throwing. Yeah.
for sure. Love it.